Hello everyone, welcome back to Pixel Village and I am Radha Krishnan. Well, couple of weeks back we did one Insta reel which kind of blew up, even surprising us, and gave us close to 2 million views under 3 days. And I want to actually talk about a product that we showcased in that and talk about it. But before I do anything, let's take a look at that reel.
ऊपर 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 तोड़ आ गया, तू फ्रेम में आ रहा है, पीछे जा। ठीक है, अभी लाइट नहीं आ रहा है, वो उधर रख, बड़ा वाला ले। ठीक है, क्या कर रहा है भाई? तू इधर बैठ, मैं सिखाता हूँ। हाँ, दे दो। अभी सही है ना?
थोड़ा थोड़ा नीचे, थोड़ा राइट राइट। अरे वैष्णव क्या कर रहा है? फ्रेम में आ रहा है, तू पीछे हो। अरे उसके ऊपर कलर ही फिल नहीं हो रहा है अभी। वो क्या मेरी गलती है क्या?
सही क्या?
फिर
What is this new confusion and argument here?
सर देखो ना, कब से परेशान करके रखा, इधर लाइट ले उधर लाइट ले।
What are you trying to do? You're trying to use an RGB light as a key light. This is one common mistake everybody does these days. Trying to use a tube as a key light. If you want to use a colored light as a key light, you need power, you need the ability to shape the light. Tube lights don't give that. Well, what you need is something like this. Godox SL150R is a powerful RGB light with a bounce mount. Use all your light shaping tools, light it and shape it from outside the frame. The tube light has its own advantages. It's a good accent light, a practical light, but not a substitute for a big light like this. Okay? Use this.
देख अभी कैसा है, ये यूज कर।
अभी मस्त लग रहा है।
आला मोटा शाना।
Well, what do you think about it? RGB lights. Well, you want these days interesting color lighting in these days by everyone. Wedding photographers, people do fashion, they all want that kind of lighting. But when you use a tube, the problem is that it gives out light, you have all the controls, but you will not be able to shape the light. Well, now you even have a 1000-watt light, a very powerful tube light, but right from the beginning, the biggest problem with the tube is that you can't really control it, shape it the way you want. The biggest advantage is that it is highly portable. There ends the story. So, in this video, we thought we'll talk about the hero of that reel, the RGB light, and talk about in detail. So here we have the all-new Godox SL150R and its elder brother, the Godox SL300R. So it is double dhamaka today. Both in terms of the features and appearance is exactly the same, except that the 300 is a little bigger in size. The build quality, features, everything is exactly the same. Of course, 300 is technically double the power. So let me switch it on first. So for convenience, I'm going to switch on only one light because the 300R does exactly the same, except that, like I said before, it's double the power. And to switch it on, well, it works on domestic power. There is an adapter along with it, and it's got a positive lock here. That's very good. It's very different from the earlier power connectors. This one actually locks in place. That's a definite positive. I've kept the power on 10% for convenience. And let's look at the modes first. So this is the mode button, and you have a CCT, HSI, RGB, GEL and FX, about 5 different modes. This knob is used to cycle through the modes and also to select that particular mode. And now we are on CCT. CCT is correlated color temperature. That's exactly how we understand, let's say, a bicolor. From a blue light to warm light. That is basically, let's say, from 2800 to 10,000 Kelvin, which is what this light can go. We can have that control here. So currently I'm at 5600 and I can change the color temperature by rotating this knob. And there is also an additional control here which basically is a tint control. You've seen in white balance control, right? You have a white balance slider and also a tint slider. So this is exactly that. Keep it at 0 and then work on your color temperature. Now, it is now 5500 at 10%, and if I use this knob here, I can go up to 100%. The SL150 and the SL300 kind of roughly indicates the output power. That's not exactly how you measure the power of a light. It is measured by the lux value or the real, intensity of the light. So what they do is you set the light at a 1 meter distance and then check the lux value. Now the power of SL150 is actually 26,200 lux at 1 meter distance when the white balance is set to 4,300 K. And the SL300R can give you 43,300 lux at 1 meter distance when the white balance is set to 5,600. Now that's a lot of power, and technically 23,000 and 43,000 is roughly double the power. Now let me go back to the modes. HSI is the right way to dial in a color. You can also use RGB values to dial in a color. These two modes have the ability to give you the entire 360-degree color spectrum reproduction here. So all you need to know is the HSI value, or you need to know the RGB value. Dial it in and you will get that color. The other way to dial in a color is by using a gel. Okay, so there are these Hollywood biggies like Lee and Roscoe. They have gels, they have color gels, and each color gels have a number. So if those numbers are accepted worldwide, here you can use any of those filter codes, dial in and get exact color gel or the color reproduction here. And then of course you have 14 different effects, which these days almost all RGB lights tend to give you. And they are pretty handy when you want to create a special effect situation. Well, you don't need to do those juggards anymore. Just dial in the effect and you can get started with it like immediately. And the next one is the fan. Now this fan, well, of course, you can keep them on or keep them off. These fans are pretty silent. Switch it off, you are working in very air conditioned, very controlled conditions. But if you are using it for a very long period of time at full power, then I recommend that you keep it switched on. Mics like this don't really pick it up because that's a major worry, right? I mean, the fans create noise and the mics tend to pick it up, but I don't think it's so loud at all. And of course, this one is your channel control. So you can group it, you can create multiple channels, and of course, this also has individual ID. So all these controls are currently available, and on this RGB, the most interesting thing is that this has a DMX control. DMX is the real professional way to control these lights. So you can control every aspect of this light remotely. Of course, it is wired. You can do that, and remotely you can do the control professionally. When you are working with dozens of lights like this, DMX is the best way to control this light accurately. Of course, you will require a special DMX cable, which is an additional purchase. You can also control the DMX using the Knowledge app while working with the Tomolink units, which has multiple DMX modes. Now, of course, you also have an onboard control, which I just told you, I showed you. Other than that, you can also buy a dedicated remote control, or you can use the app to control these lights. When you buy a light, you buy a light for its light quality, right? And its output power. So that's what we're going to check now. We're going to have a small homegrown test here, and we're going to check how accurate these lights are in terms of its color values and also its power. Yeah, these two things that we're going to check now. And of course, the most important one, well, that I'll tell you at the end. Okay, this is the homegrown test that I was talking about. Here we have the SL150R. I have the C800 here, one of the best color meter that you can buy, reading the color accuracy in CRI values and also the lux value, the output intensity value. And next to it is the L858D, one of the best light meters, flash meter, light meter that you can buy, reading in terms of f-stops. And then of course, I have a color rendition chart on the other side. It's the industry standard Great Tag Macbeth, which is now X-Rite, and a model for effects. Okay, let me switch on the SL150R. Currently it is at 5500K. Now the instruction manual says that I have to shift it to 4300 at 100% output at 1 meter distance should ideally give me 26,200 lux of power. Okay, now only 150R is working. I take a reading. It says 4140K. What I have dialed in is 4300. This one says 4140, and the lux is 31,500 lux, which is higher than the 26,200 which is promised. And the R9 value, which is the red value, which basically indicates the accuracy of skin tone, is at 82.8. And now let me go to 5,500 here, which is the daylight at full power. 5,200 is what the meter is reading with an R9 value of 80. Let me also check the CRI value, 95.8. What is promised by Godox is 94. Here you are getting 95.8. Now let me read the power output. Now I have set this meter to 640 ISO at 180 degree shutter angle, which is equivalent to, let's say, 1/50th of a second, and at 25 frames, this gives me a reading of 32, meaning there's enough light and more. CRI, the color rendition index, takes into consideration the accuracy of almost 14 colors, and R9 is for the red, and that is at 79. Now let me go and change the color temperature to 6,500 and no shift in the tint. And let me go back and read the color accuracy, 6,300. 6,500 set in the light. The meter says 6,300. I'm going to go and make it really cool at 10,000, okay, and see what the meter tells me. So meter says 10,313. That's amazing. Well, at 10,300, it is showing power output value of 29,300 lux. So these are the readings. I will want to go to the warm side as well. So this goes from 2,500 upwards to 10,000. So I am at 2,500. Let me see what this guy says. 2,538, which is like bang on, of course. So this is excellent reading. What's the power? It says 22.8. Of course, when you shift from white towards warmth, of course, there is a good drop of about a stop. It's quite natural for a light to behave like that. So pretty accurate readings using the SL150R. Now since I'm with the light, let me also show you the other modes. I'm going to HSI. I select the HSI. Now hue, this is the hue. Hues actually, it means the color. Saturation is how saturated your color is. Now let me pick one color which is, let's say, very easy to kind of figure out. So this is a magenta, yeah, and let me pick the saturation is now 100. But as I reduce the saturation, you can see it's still magenta, but the saturation is gone, and the brightness, so which is the luminance, also can be addressed. So the Puritans say that's the right way to actually dial in a color: hue, saturation, and luma informations. So that's how you should be doing if you are doing it professionally. Of course, you can also pick. Now, this actually gives you, like I said before, the entire 360 sphere, color sphere can be dialed in here. This is your R, G, and B value. And let me go and do some random changes here to R. So again, I've come back to that magenta. One interesting thing is, if you're using the mobile app, the app gives you an ability to pick a color of your choice from your scene wherever you want using the camera, okay, through the app, and pick that color and reproduce it here. That's a wonderful feature. One more interesting feature is that the RGB also has a whiteness correction. So if you add the white, so here you can actually add white. So you can go to 255 as the whitest of the white, and you can go to 0 where there is very little white. This is purely RGB, but if you want to add white, you can add white. You can also change intensity. So it actually gives you one more layer of control. So that's definitely an advantage of this light. Besides that, of course, you have a USB connectivity for upgrading firmware, etc. I told you about the remote control possibilities. What else? Like I said, it's very well made. The reflectors, of course, is Bowen's mount, and which means you can use a whole host of light shaping tools with it and shape your light. Well, the biggest advantage, like I told you, is that the Bowen's mount in these lights. You can use the endless array of light shaping tools with these lights. Let's take a look at a demo now. Vinayak Prakash is a very talented photographer at Pixel Village. He is working with Gaurav to create some interesting images using the SL300R and the SL150R. Now I'm sure it's very clear to you as to what are the difference between, let's say, an RGB tube and an RGB light, a monolight like this. And this definitely is more versatile when the quality of the light, the power and the ability to shape the light and also control the light is more important. In that case, the SL150R and the 300R should be your choice. Hope I was able to explain to you in detail, in a simple language, the features of these two lights and also probably the use cases as well. Well, if you are benefited in any way from this video, please let us know. Also, remember to subscribe and of course like and share. I'll see you in another video very soon. Bye for now.